I have always loved camping. The isolation, the silence, the chance to escape the daily grind and reconnect with nature. It's like therapy. So when I had a rare weekend off, I didn't hesitate. I packed my gear, told a few friends where I'd be, and headed out to my favorite spot deep in the woods. It was perfect. The small clearing by a stream, surrounded by thick trees. I set up my tent, built a fire, and settled in for a relaxing evening. As dusk turned to night, the forest came alive with the sounds of crickets and owls. I felt at peace. Around midnight, I decided to turn in. The fire was dying down, casting eerie shadows that danced around the trees. I crawled into my sleeping bag and closed my eyes, listening to the soothing sounds of the forest. I don't know what woke me. Maybe a noise, maybe a change in the air. I lay still, straining to hear something over the pounding of my heart. Then I heard it, a soft rustling, like something moving just outside my tent. I held my breath, trying to convince myself it was just an animal, maybe a raccoon or a deer. The rustling stopped, replaced by a new sound. A faint, almost imperceptible scratching, like nails on fabric. It was coming from the side of my tent. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I wanted to call out, to scare whatever it was away, but my throat was dry and my voice seemed to have vanished. Suddenly, the scratching stopped. The silence was deafening, pressing in on me from all sides. I lay there, every muscle tensed, waiting for something, anything to happen. Then, without warning, the tent collapsed on me. It was as if someone had cut the poles, causing the whole structure to come down at once. Scrambled out of my sleeping bag, fighting to free myself from the tangled fabric. I burst out of the tent, gasping for air, and stumbled into the clearing. The moon had risen, casting a pale light over everything. My eyes darted around, searching for the source of the noise. That's when I saw it. Standing at the edge of the clearing, just beyond the reach of the moonlight, was a figure. At first, I thought it was a person, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized it was something else entirely. It was tall and gaunt, with unnaturally long limbs and pale, almost translucent skin. Its eyes were huge, black voids that seemed to suck in all the light around them. The rake. I'd heard stories about it, tales whispered around campfires and in dark bars. I'd always dismissed them as just that, stories. But now, standing there, staring into those empty eyes, I knew it was real. The creature took a step toward me, moving with a jerky, unnatural gait. I wanted to run, to scream, but I was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. It took another step, then another, closing the distance between us with terrifying speed. Finally, my survival instincts kicked in. Turned and ran, sprinting through the woods, branches whipping at my face and tearing at my clothes. I didn't dare look back. Could hear it behind me, the sound of its movements growing louder, closer. Burst up onto the dirt road where my car was parked and fumbled for my keys. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped them, but I managed to get the door open and threw myself inside. I started the engine and slammed my foot on the gas, peeling out of there as fast as I could. As I sped down the winding road, I risked a glance in the rearview mirror. For a moment, I thought I saw those black eyes staring back at me from the darkness, but then they were gone. I didn't stop driving until I reached the safety of my apartment. I locked the doors, drew the blinds, and sat in the dark, trying to make sense of what had happened. I've tried to tell myself it was a nightmare, a hallucination brought on by stress and exhaustion, but deep down, I know the truth. The rake is real, and it's out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victim.